Good. Far away.
What can you tell us about Taysom Hill and Nick Sunday?
Taysom's got a knee injury. He's going to be, looks like it's going to be season ending for him, unfortunately. I think he'll probably get a second opinion on some of the stuff, but looks like he'll be season ending. Nick also is dealing with a knee injury as well. He's got a couple different aspects of his as well. It may or may not be season ending. I don't think his is going to be. So we'll just have to wait and see, make a decision on that. But both of them are going to be missed extended time for sure.
Was it an ACL tear for Taysom?
It looks like an ACL tear, and that's really, again, he's just, how it is today with second, third, fifth, seventh, eighth opinions. So, but it looks like it's going to be an ACL tear, and it'll be season ending.
Have you gotten any sense from him of, how he feels about the rehab process ahead of him? He's 34, is that something?
Yeah, we haven't gotten down that road yet.
Nobody has another Taysom, so how do you go about replacing everything that he does?
Yeah, it means everybody else has to step up. He fills so many roles, so there's going to be a lot of different guys that are going to have to be a part of the solution there. We'll start getting hopefully a couple healthy bodies back here. I think we're going to open the window this week with Kendra Miller, open up his 21-day window. Bub Means, another guy, hopefully we get back this week. We'll open up his 21-day window, looks like. And then obviously all the guys that have been, supporting cast these last few weeks. We've done a good job, these last few weeks of getting a lot of different guys involved, and that's going to have to remain the same. And again, it's hard to sit here and tell you that you can replace Taysom. You can't. He's a phenomenal person, player, leader, captain, all those different things. So it's certainly a big loss, but that's the only way we can do is everybody else has to step up.
You've been integral, obviously, in so many of the different roles that he's played on special teams and whatnot. You see all of these different positions from your perspective. What does maybe he mean to you and in your career?
Yeah, listen, I look at Taysom. I've said this to you guys before. I don't know if I could compare him to anybody else that I've ever coached, because I don't have a guy. There's not a guy that comes to mind that has been able to do all the different things he's been able to do just in one game. Forget about his career, but a guy that's played PP, rush and blocks punts, returns kicks. And I haven't even gotten offense yet. Tackled people, get them on the ground. He's been a kick coverage guy. He's on an onside kickoff team. He's a backup long snapper. He's our backup holder. And so all the different, roles that he plays, I don't have anybody that comes to mind. I know we joke around about it sometimes, and he's got all these nicknames and everything else. I used to joke around about the Bugs Bunny thing. When you was a kid, you watch Bugs Bunny doing all the cartoons, and he plays every position. But really, there's not a guy that I could sit here and tell you that I could compare him to. And so, listen, it's a big loss. And so it's not going to take one person to fill that role. It's going to take multiple people. Back to Les's question, it's going to take multiple people to fill that role because he's so multidimensional. So,
to your recollection, have y'all ever tried to prepare somebody to do all the things that Taysom does? Is that even a road that y'all have even entertained in the past?
I think in the time I've been here, we've looked in the draft and said, I've heard the expression used before. Well, that guy is a Taysom-like player, and you bring a guy in and see how many roles he can fill. I think the difficult part in today's NFL is that everything is so specialized, and so Taysom is such a rare player because everything is so specialized. You have pass rushers and nickels and third down guys and this and that. So when guys come into the league, they don't have a lot of the experience at a lot of those different things. So you're teaching guys to do. Taysom came to us and hadn't really done a lot of the special team stuff and turned himself into a very good special teams player. So to sit here and say that you can just plug one guy in and do all those different things, I think it's a process, And I think Taysom did such a great job when he got here of learning the offense and then kind of integrating him into special teams. And then, oh, by the way, can he be a kick returner? And so So, yeah, I mean, I've heard discussions happen before, but that's not a one-day thing, that's a long, process, to his credit.
Darren, I don't think we've asked you specifically about Kendrick Miller before, so obviously in the bits and pieces that we've seen of him, there's been some really good stuff, but I just haven't seen too much of it. So.
Yeah, listen, Kendrick Miller's a talented football player. There's no one that's going to sit here and ever deny that. Kendrick Miller has a lot of talent. It's the reason we drafted him where we drafted him. He had a really, really good college career, particularly his last year in college. You've seen that when he's been active and healthy, that he's a guy that's can produce for the team. He's a really good change of pace back. He brings another dimension to it. I feel like he's coming back. We're getting him fully healthy. Hopefully here to start this week. We'll see what he looks like. But Kendrick brings a little bit of a different type of back that we're playing with right now. So hopefully we can get him fast forward and get him moving. But I have a lot of confidence in Kendrick.
Just considering some of the stuff he's dealt with, is he somebody that you'd want to get like a longer look at in his last 5 games of the season just to see what
Yeah, listen, he's obviously fought the injury bug, right? He got hurt the first day of training camp, and then obviously he got re-injured. We felt like when he came back off of the training camp injury that he was kind of back to where he needed to be. He had a couple flashes there in the game when he played, and then obviously had the disappointing re-injury. So I think we've done a great job with the rehab process, with the strength and conditioning process, and now hopefully we get him back to where we're going. So we've amped him up a little bit in the rehab process. I'm just going to throw him back in there, but with where we are right now, hopefully he has a good week of practice, and we'll make a decision on where he's at.
Obviously, an impression that he was, for lack of a better term, in the doghouse a little bit this season, and I don't know if part of that was Dennis Allen's frustrations or an entire coaching staff, but is there some desire to get him like a clean slate, fresh start over this final month?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Mike. I think when I took over a few weeks ago, I tried to give everybody a clean slate. So I don't have a doghouse. My doghouse is empty at the moment. So I don't have a dog at home nor at work, and so because I don't have enough time to take care of one. But all jokes aside, that Kendra and I had met the first day, that I took over, and we had a great conversation. And I told him just that. I told him he had a clean slate moving forward, and I'm going to judge him by, based on what he does from that day moving forward. And like I said, there's no one that's ever going to sit here and doubt that this guy's a talented guy. His thing is going to be consistency and staying healthy.
Previously it was said that because he hasn't been able to be out on the field as much, that there's not really a certainty in terms of how much of the offense he knows and things like that. Now that there's been more time, what is your read on his sort of familiarity with the offense?
Yeah, and that was part of my conversation with him, is when he comes back, there can't be that, there's that and listen, I'm one of those no secrets guys. So when I sat down, we said, this is the perception about you. The perception is that you don't, all these things that we're saying, these negative things, that are out there, and it's your job to prove these things wrong. And so when you do come back, we got to make sure we're 100% on healthy. Number one. Number two, we 100% know what we're doing offensively, and that's going to be for him to prove. I mean, it's all there in front of him.
How do you feel he responded to that conversation?
I thought, me and Kendra have a really good relationship. I got no issues with him at all, and he's been great since I took over. And so we'll see how he responds on the field. That's going to tell us all we need to know. How he practices, how he prepares, just like everybody else. 111th, he's got to do his part, do his job, and like I said, hopefully that's all positive.
I touched on this yesterday, but what do you make of the NFC South being still up for grabs? And I guess the fact that like a lot of teams in the division no one's run away with it yet.
Yeah. The bottom line there is there's something to be said when you're still playing for something, and we're playing to win this game this week, but there is that big picture out there that we still have the opportunity to potentially win our division. But that doesn't happen unless we win this game this week, and we just concentrate. But listen, I think it'd be a lot different if we're going out there and starting this week with zero chance, as opposed to a chance. There's a big difference, and so that's the way we're going to approach. And so, I think all these guys will handle it the right way, professional. And listen, the bottom line with that game yesterday is we can slice it and dice it a million different ways. The bottom line is at the end of the game, we had the ball with a chance to go down and win the game. And so we did a lot of things good. There's plenty of things we did poorly, and we got to correct. But at the end of the day, we played that game with a chance to win the game at the end, and our guys kept fighting and showed a lot of passion all the way through, like we said we were going to, and there's no reason for me to believe we won't do that again this week.
On that fourth down, for the audible, was that like a pre-baked call into the original, like, the huddle? Like, did you guys have that as a backup option?
I'm not sure I know what you mean. The fourth down, the last play, our last offensive play? Yeah, I don't know if it was an audible. It was a play call. We ran it. Well, it depends how you look. Depends how you look at it. You go to the line. Not to get too technical, but you're going to the line with some options there, and so I understand what he's saying. You saying audible, my definition of audible, and yeah, got it. Yeah. So there's some. The quarterback goes to the line. The offensive line. Everyone goes to the line with some potential options based on how they're going to play it. So yeah. So the question is
like,
were we in the right play? We were.
Yeah, okay. Like the play apparently wasn't like a good look against zone. Did the playing zone surprise you guys on that fourth down? Or was that...
I wouldn't say we got surprised by it. At the end of the day, when you watch the play, we had a receiver. It was open in the end zone. We didn't have enough time to get him the ball.
You've gotten other guys involved since you've taken over too. Now with Taysom being out, how much more confident, comfortable are you with those guys since they've had some quality playing minutes?
Very. I mean, I think one of the great things about one of the positives about the last few weeks is that a number of players stepped up. I mean, just use MVS as an example. He's been a really big bright spot for us. You look at Kevin Austin. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. That Atlanta game. People probably didn't even know who our receivers were. And all of a sudden those guys have all made plays in their own right. Look at MVS. You look at Kevin Austin, made a couple really nice plays yesterday. Dante Pettis has the big 2-point conversion. Cedric Wilson has a big third down catch. So all those guys in their own right have done a really nice job. And our tight end room, that came up the other day about a bunch of our tight ends have really made plays. Alvin, obviously has been really, really, really good these last few weeks. So yeah, I'm very, very comfortable and very happy with a lot of those guys, and we're going to need all those guys, moving forward here to continue to do that.
What do you like about what you seen out of Kevin in particular?
Kevin
guys
Austin.
playing UFL.
Yeah, well, listen, here's the thing I love about Kevin the most. Kevin's the same guy. When he walks in that side door every day, he's the same guy every single day. I know exactly what we're getting out of that player. He's a very, very hard worker. He's got a really good mindset. He's always has a great approach to the game, great attitude, and it doesn't surprise me based on what I've seen since the day he got here that he's having some success, because that's what you guys saw in the game yesterday is what we've seen the players, the coaches in practice, throughout the last whenever it is when he got here in training camp. And, again, a UFL guy, probably hadn't had much of a break, and guy just keeps going. So good for him, but not surprised. Just, really, really hard worker and blue-collar guy and the way he approached everything. And so very, very happy for him.
How did Eric's workout go yesterday? Obviously he didn't play, but...
Eric McCoy? Yeah, everything's on track for him right now to be ready to roll this week, and so he should be back out there Wednesday. We'll wait and see on Lucas as well. Hopefully, I think him and Lucas are both trending in the right direction, hopefully to get them out there Wednesday, so that'll be good. Be good for everybody.
I know we've asked you about him before, but Rico Payton, it feels like every week is making a great play in punt coverage and everything. Him coming from Pittsburgh State, smaller school and everything, was that something that y'all identified with him through the draft process and kind of knew that was a spot that you'd like him?
Yeah, I agree. Rico's getting better every week, so we'll start with that. I really like the way he's progressing. I think he has a chance to be a really good, core special teamer. And as you see, he has the ability to make those flash plays. So now we'll go to flash plays. That's what he really did when he first got here in training camp, is he opened some eyes with that's some kind of jump-off film plays for a younger guy right from the beginning, even right from like rookie mini camp. He started doing that. Small school guy. Probably took him a little bit longer to pick up some of the stuff, both defensively and special teams. But when you put on his Division II film at Pittsburgh State, he made a lot of those. He kind of really stood out on film, which you would think a small school guy would, and he did. But he plays fast. He got a really, really good knack to get to the ball. He's an aggressive guy, and so I think now he's kind of picking up all the little things schematically, both special teams wise and defensively. I think one of the great things for Rico is he's got JT as a resource, meaning, he's a guy that's always talking to JT, just kind of learning the ins and outs of the game from a veteran type of guy. But Rico's been a real, welcome addition to the team. And again, not really surprised by his success because I've been watching him since day one of training camp also. So I'm happy for him. There's plenty of stuff he's got to get cleaned up like everybody. But what you've seen on those gunner plays, a lot of times JT gets all that attention. So we always make a big deal about, hey, the other guy, meaning the other gunner, is going to have to be a guy that makes plays. And he's done that.
How big of a leap is it coming from a small school in college to the NFL in that role in particular? We talk about it all the time with other positions, but in that role in particular.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And listen, I have obviously a fond, I guess I call it a respect for small school guys because I coached at that level for a long time. I was a Division II head coach, and so there's a lot of great players at that level that don't get recognized maybe all the time. And so coming from that level, the biggest jump is probably, those guys have it a little bit more in terms of, I guess simple's the right word, in terms of defensive, schematically, things like that. So the big picture thing is like it's a little bit of a bigger jump than, say, a guy coming from the SEC, where you're playing more like the pro game, where, the smaller school guys, I think maybe learning the playbook is a little bit more of a challenge. A guy like him probably didn't play a ton of special teams because he was a big timer at Division II. A lot of those guys come in, and those valuable players don't play as much. So it's just a big learning curve, I guess is probably the best way to say it. For any Division II guy. Now you put a guy into the defensive secondary, and he probably played 3 coverages at Pittsburgh State. Now all of a sudden you come in, you have all these adjustments and all these moving parts, and then you couple that with the special teams. And so those guys mentally really get challenged early on. That's the biggest jump. And then the challenge for those guys, and I've had this conversation with Rico a bunch of times, is you don't want that aspect to slow them down because that's what got him here. The fact that he plays fast, he plays aggressive, a lot of those guys start to overthink sometimes. And so that's been really the challenge with Rico. But he's handled it well, and as you see every week, he's getting a little better.
How do you feel about the run defense?
Hot and cold. That's how I feel about the run defense. I thought, that game yesterday played out, as I mentioned, post game, was really the first half played out exactly how we wanted the game to play out. We had the ball for 13 plus minutes in the first quarter. They had 3 offensive plays in the first quarter. They kind of flipped the script on us in the second and third quarter, and then we got back to playing kind of how we want in the fourth. So we got to do a better job in the middle of the game. Some of those 5, 6, 7-yard runs where they're getting themselves into second and third manageable, that's where we got to stay out of. There's some really good, but then there's some inconsistencies there. And so that's really the thing we got to get better at on our run defense is just the consistency. We've seen flashes of it. It's been there. We can do it. We're not doing it enough and not often enough. And the tackling has to continue to get better. All right, guys, appreciate it.